It's September 7th, 2023, and these are today's headlines. As you can see, if you're watching the video right now, we're outside the Capitol. Today marked the third day of the Texas Senate's impeachment trial of Attorney General Ken Paxton. Yesterday's proceedings were largely occupied by the testimony and cross-examination of former Assistant Attorney General Jeff Mateer, who was accused by Paxton's defense of staging a coup because he met with the governor's office after going to the FBI, had communications with Texans for Lawsuit Reform, a group that has opposed Paxton, and for an incident where he and other employees removed Paxton's name from the office's official letterhead. Today's proceedings started off with Ryan Bangert, a former deputy first assistant attorney general under Paxton and one of the so-called whistleblowers who left the office 3 years ago, accusing Paxton of wrongdoing. As a reminder, much of the conversation surrounding Paxton's impeachment has been about his alleged actions to help real estate developer Nate Paul. Ryan Bangert testified that Paxton made him go to lunch with him and Nate Paul and listen to his legal grievances against an organization called the Mitty Foundation, who he believed was acting unlawfully as part of a real estate dispute. They had Mexican food. They ate outside. These are the kinds of details that were shared during this hearing. Of course, meeting with a constituent isn't exactly impeachable conduct. But Bangert went on and detailed how he and the other whistleblowers went to the FBI without meeting with Paxton because he said he believed that Paxton had, quote, abandoned his obligation to the people of Texas and his efforts to help Nate Paul. It was only the following day that they messaged Attorney General Paxton and asked to meet with him after going to the FBI. By going to law enforcement, Bangert said he knew he was signing his professional death warrant. But as Anthony Osso, one of Paxton's defense lawyers, noted, Bangert was never fired. He resigned, and he was never demoted either. Instead, Bangert complained that various responsibilities and cases were taken away from him when new leadership moved into the office to replace those like Jeff Mateer, who had left as part of this, again, after reporting Paxton's alleged improprieties to the FBI without talking to him. Additionally, Bangert's own computer records revealed he had searched for the law firm of a Johnny Sutton, a lawyer who he later retained for himself over a week before going to the FBI. He called it a coincidence, but as Paxton's defense has noted multiple times in this trial, there are no coincidences in Austin. Just like yesterday when it was announced that George P. Bush, Paxton's former primary opponent, reactivated his law license at the same time those employees were going to the FBI. There are no coincidences in Austin. If today's hearing lacked some of the fireworks of yesterday's, it boils down to a simple reason. These are the same allegations discussed yesterday by Jeff Mateer and the same ones talked about 3 years ago when this saga started out. Though there is quite a bit of time left, at least a couple more weeks or so of this trial, expect more scrutiny on the prosecution's star witnesses in the days ahead. Remember this, while the impeachment trial goes on, Attorney General Ken Paxton remains temporarily suspended from office. He's been temporarily suspended since the House voted for impeachment over 3 months ago, but Texas's legal challenges haven't stopped. And the AG's office has been under the guidance of an interim attorney general appointed by Governor Greg Abbott. Well, we have another update from one of those legal battles. A federal judge has ruled that Texas must move the border buoys in the Rio Grande River because the barriers inhibit public safety, navigation, and federal operations. U.S. District Judge David Ezra of the Western District of Texas, a Reagan appointee, by the way, sided with the Biden administration and issued a preliminary injunction stating that Texas Governor Greg Abbott is prohibited from placing additional barriers and must reposition the existing buoys to the bank of the Rio Grande on Texas's side of the river. The governor has said the decision will be appealed, and we expect that to move quickly, but what if the appeal doesn't work? That raises an interesting question. Should Texas be subservient to federal judges? Or, as some border security advocates have advocated for, should Abbott defy this order, leave the buoys in place, and escalate efforts to secure the Texas border in the federal government's absence. One of the most liberal Republicans in the Texas House has announced he will be seeking re-election. That would be State Representative Kyle Cassell of College Station, who represents Grimes, Madison, Robertson, Walker, and Washington counties, as well as a portion of Brazos County. Cassell's top campaign contributor in the 2022 election was the Texas Farm Bureau, followed by House Speaker Dade Phelan. Other top contributors included the anti-school choice Charles Butt Public Education PAC, the Texas Trial Lawyers Association PAC, Texans for Lawsuit Reform, and the pro-casino gambling Texas Sands PAC. Here's something that will be interesting to watch in this race. In 2022, Cassell had a primary opponent. Senator Ted Cruz endorsed that opponent, while Governor Greg Abbott stuck with Cassell. He endorsed Kyle Cassell in that race. Cassell won. And since then, Cassell has repeatedly voted against Abbott's signature legislative priority this session, school choice, which raises the question, will Abbott do the same thing this next election, or could Cassell be in trouble? This is something to watch in the upcoming primary races. For more news of the day, go to TexasScorecard.com.
No ads, no paywalls, no government grants, and no corporate masters. Just real news for real Texans. This is Texas Scorecard.